Hello and welcome to our program tonight. Our focus is to let you know some important information about the Port of Olympia's potential plan to increase air traffic at the Olympia Regional Airport. Before I begin, though, I would first like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the Salish Sea, that is Puget Sound, Salish people, and the Squamish tribe. And we acknowledge the sovereignty of the Nisqually, Puyallup, Squaxin Island, and Chehalis tribes, past and present, and express our gratitude to them and to the land itself. And through this acknowledgement, expressing our gratitude to them, is the necessary project of reimagining the social contracts between Native people and the rest of us who've shown up through different routes to these Native nations. So as I mentioned before, tonight's focus is on the Olympia Regional Airport and why we, and hopefully you too, will oppose its growth. Now, when we say growth, that term we're using tonight, and you've seen it on the flyers and petition, we're not talking about physically expanding the size of the airport. Instead, what we're talking about when we call it growth is increased air traffic to the at the airport. So this growth, that is increased air traffic, would eventually accommodate a large number of commercial daily flights in and out of this airport. And those who contributed to this information you'll be hearing tonight want you to make sure that you know they do not consider themselves aviation experts. However, these individuals are highly knowledgeable because they have attended airport meetings regularly over years and are continually reviewing airport documents. They are Sharon Kuntz, Phyllis Farrell, Lynn Fitzhugh, Charlotte Persons, and Jan Witt. They are members of our community and volunteers. I'm Carla Wolfsberg, and I'm the announcer for this meeting. Now I'd like to introduce our first presenter, and that's Lynn Fitzhugh.
Thank you all for coming out, spending your night this way.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I need to take my mask off. Thank you for that reminder. And I may need to adjust this just a little bit. There we go. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Carla, do you want to? Yeah, thank you. Oh, boy. Okay, so a good place to start is always with, what do we want? We want a healthy place for all of us to live, for our children, and for wildlife. We want clean air, noise-free skies. We want to save trees and protect the planet. We want to protect the value of our homes and neighborhoods. And we want a beautiful Thurston County for future generations. Okay, so our first section is about the 2 airport threats for Thurston County. Next slide. So there are 2 maps here. The one on the right shows you the possible location of the mega airport, and it shows a 6-mile radius for that. The slide on the left, which the red circle I have to say is a little hard to see, is the 10-mile radius around the current Olympia airport. And if we were to merge these into one map, you would see that there's a significant overlap between the 2. So if both were to happen, there's some folks in that intersection that would be really having a heck of a time. The CALC, a committee created by the legislature, is tasked with finding a way to expand airport capacity in Washington. They were to provide a short list by October of 22 for a new site and a final candidate by June of 23, while also looking at expanding existing local airports. A site in East Olympia, Tenino, is on the short list of 3 sites, as are 2 in Pierce County for the mega airport. At the back of this room is information on how to get in touch with the group that is working on the mega airport problem. The Port of Olympia is using this opportunity to propose changes to the Olympia Airport that could possibly bring 70 to 630 flight events a day. Our focus tonight is on this threat. So there are two different decision-making processes for each site. The mega airport will be decided by CAC and then by the legislature, not our county. In the back is information on how to join, again, with the people who are fighting the mega airport. Whereas the Olympia Airport will be decided by the Port of Olympia and the FAA. Beyond that, both sites share devastating impacts for any neighbors and our whole county. The port is in the process of updating its airport master plan, which is done every 10 years. Once a final decision has been made on a master plan, the only way for the public to change it is through legal action. Therefore, comments to the commissioners prior to any final decision are crucial. The airport master plan update is set to be voted on in February. They have not released the draft, but we have seen presentations about it. One component, also called a preferred alternative, is included in the updated plan and can be implemented at a later time. Many of our concerns are about that preferred alternative component. That component would open the floodgates to commercial passenger planes beginning in several years with 70 landings and takeoffs each day, adding to the existing 191 that we are already having for a total of 260. However, the 2013 master plan indicated that with some changes to the taxiway exit system, the airport could handle 630 takeoffs and landings each day. The current alternative plan refers to changes in the taxiway system that we suspect would enable that many planes in the future. As the next slide illuminates, the port has a history of making incremental changes that move us towards that. During the past several decades, the Olympia Airport has undergone many incremental airport expansion projects designed to accommodate ever greater numbers and types of aircrafts. Those projects have included forced property buyouts of an entire neighborhood south of the airport, relocation and extension of the main north-south airport runway to accommodate higher speed jets. At the time this runway lengthening was done, the port denied that runway lengthening would occur. Only a few years later, the southern end of the main airport runway was strengthened to accommodate heavier aircraft. Runway lights have been installed, navigational aids have been installed, new hangars to accommodate large private and corporate jets. Helipads have been installed. Most airports the size of the Olympia Airport have 3 based helicopters. There are now 18 helicopters based at the Olympia Airport. The master plan update for the Olympia Airport includes the preferred alternatives. It includes incremental airport expansion designed to enable the airport to accommodate ever-increasing amounts of aircraft operations, such as a new taxiway, which 2013 airport planning documents indicate could help facilitate up to 630 aircraft flights per day over Thurston County. A new 2,000-foot-long turf runway parallel to the current main north-south runway, and more aircraft hangars. Included in the commercial aviation feasibility study are plans for a new passenger terminal, a de-icing facility, at least 600 parking stalls, veriports for future air taxis, and there are most likely other changes that we have not yet been told about. The port repeatedly states that they are not expanding the airport. It is true that they are not expanding the physical footprint of the airport. But as you see, they are reconfiguring and adding features that will allow for significant growth in the number of flights and types of planes coming in and out of the airport, and that is our concern. The next section is about environment and health threats. This slide shows on the left how much of our county is within a 5-mile radius of the airport, and on the right, how much is in a 10-mile radius. This is the radius in which residents in the flight path experience noise pollution and air pollution. Most of the planes using our airport are piston engine. They use leaded fuel, polluting our communities. Pollutants also fall into local creeks and water aquifers. In 1986, lead in auto fuel was outlawed because of the health effects. However, it is still allowed in airplane fuel. The vast majority of current planes are using leaded fuel at our airport. Lead contamination from air or water can cause higher vascular disease and deaths, higher levels of miscarriage, diminished IQ, ADHD, kidney disease, reproductive disorders, etc. Additionally, children and people from economically disadvantaged populations are disproportionately exposed to and thus impacted by this pollutant. Also impacted are pregnant mothers, the children they carry, and newborns. Studies show children by airports with elevated lead in their blood. This is a social equity issue. This fall, the FAA approved the use of unleaded gas in planes, but the rollout is predicted to take more than 10 years. With the lead eliminated, prop planes and jet planes both will have the same emissions as diesel engines. These emissions cause an elevated number of health problems in people who live and work near airports, from cancer to lung disease. Children with asthma and adults with lung or cardiovascular problems are especially vulnerable. Noise pollution is most intense under the flight paths. Because there is no local control about when flights happen, this can create nighttime sleep disturbance. Even though a person may have no conscious awareness of being awoken, loud noises can move us from one stage of sleep to another and have impact on health and mental health. During waking hours, loud noises impact concentration of workers and school children. There is a higher rate of coronary disease, stroke, and death associated with noise generated by aviation activities. The environmental community has serious concerns about further development at the Olympia Airport. Airport property has an ideal soil mix that provides habitat for several endangered species. These species will be affected by any loss of habitat. Nearby wildlife will be affected by increased air and noise pollution, as well as by interruption of bird migratory patterns. Currently, as required by law, Tumwater, the Port of Olympia, and the Olympia Airport are developing the Bush Prairie Habitat Conservation Plan. Any adverse effects of permitting that would affect the species or habitat must be mitigated according to the Endangered Species Act. The draft HCP is expected late November. It must be approved by the jurisdictions and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. If you stay involved, we will be letting you know as those dates arise. Wildlife. All of the wildlife areas special to our county will be affected. You can see on this slide a list of the many wildlife areas that would be affected. Sorry about that. They don't all fit on a slide. Okay, I will read them off. Millersvania State Park, Mima Mound Natural Area Preserve, Glacier Heritage Preserve, Black River National Wildlife Refuge, West Rocky Prairie Wildlife Area, West Rocky Prairie Natural Area, Violet Prairie Reserve, Scatter Creek Wildlife, Darlin Creek Preserve, Capital Land Trust, McLean Natural Trail, LBA Woods, Squaxin Park, Olympia Watershed Park, Deschutes River Park, Spooner Farm Recreational Fields, Capitol Forest. There's 1,350 conserved acres in Black River Watershed, all impacted by this. The incremental development of the Olympia Airport has avoided assessment of cumulative environmental impacts. Cumulative impacts is a legally defined term which has not been evaluated. The last Port of Olympia environmental impact statement was done in 1994, and that study stated that no changes were planned for the airport. Since that time, many changes have taken place. A comprehensive environmental study of all the past, present, and intended airport changes is long overdue. They may do a NEPA and SEPA checklist, but not a thorough EIS. Okay, our next section is called Societal Impacts, and I'm inviting up Charlotte Persons, who will be doing this part.
Okay, she's taller than me, so give me a minute here. Okay. One of the things that will happen is that property values will plummet, and they do around all airports that have a lot of traffic. It's not surprising. The air and noise pollution, people don't like it. And if they have any means necessary, they move away, and that causes the property values to go down. And that's not just neighboring properties, but also people who live under the flight paths, because they're really impacted by noise and pollution. And one of the effects of that is that it will lower the tax base of the community when property values go down. And over time, it will create less desirable and even blighted neighborhoods. An individual greenhouse gas footprint is different than a city or jurisdiction's footprint. Individuals' greenhouse gas counts are based on what they consume, but government's counts include only what is generated inside the jurisdiction. So for most people who fly more than once a year, emissions from flying are the lion's share of your GHG footprint. We have to fly less, not more, in order to survive. In 2018, Thurston County's total greenhouse gas emissions were 3,300,000 tons, approximately. The Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan was signed by the county, Olympia, Tumwater, and Lacey, and it calls for a 45% reduction from 2015 levels of greenhouse gases by 2030 and 85% by 2050. The total emissions of even the smaller increase of only 70 takeoffs and landing planned in the update will be huge. How can we both host an expanded airport and meet our climate goals? This is a climate disaster. The Civilian Aviation Coordinating Council says we have to grow airport capacity because of population growth. That we will have population growth in our state is absolutely true, but we cannot increase flying and survive. Flight numbers went down under the COVID shutdown. COVID is not going away, and people have learned how to do many things on Zoom that used to require flying. Conferences and work meetings are now on Zoom. Our current level of flying and the decrease of it needs to continue to happen. There are other solutions for local transportation besides flying. Warehouses. In the last 10 years in this county, we have built 10 warehouses in Lacey and 2 in Tumwater. And the Port of Olympia's new Market Industrial Campus next to the airport has 3 permitted warehouses right now. Plus, it's also one more being permitted south of the airport. The port has denied wanting to expand commercial cargo operations until this master plan update, but there were sure a lot of warehouses being built around the airport at the same time. Well, what's wrong with warehouses anyway? The main problem is that they create the lowest number of jobs per square foot of any light industrial or commercial building. And warehouse jobs in general pay poorly and have few benefits. Warehouses are not as good a community benefit as other kinds of commercial and industrial development. These are the logos of the kinds of multinational corporations that stand to benefit from the airport expansion in services. Amazon, Walmart, airlines, and FedEx and UPS. At the same time, the residents of Thurston County will be the ones who will pay for loss of property value, healthcare costs, habitat damage, and so on. This is not in the best interest of county residents. The airport master plan update shows hybrid electric and hydrogen planes as the majority of planes using the airport by 2040. But the port's own PowerPoint presentation at the fourth open house said that only 2% of the American fleet will be sustainable in 2035. We are being asked to agree now on a promise of sustainable, low-emission planes that is questionable. The conversion to sustainable aviation will take decades. Small electric planes up to 20 passengers may be in production within 10 years. And the airplane master plan update shows 3 vertiports to serve their landings and takeoffs. But larger commercial planes that are electric, hybrid, or use hydrogen fuels face many more obstacles to get them widely produced. However, the main obstacle to the U.S. fleet becoming sustainable is the slow turnover. Each plane stays in service 20 to 40 years. So even if the new ones started being built with fewer greenhouse gases tomorrow, it would take 20 to 30 years to make this transition, and not any of this transition is supposed to start until about 10 years from now, and most of it 20 years from now. In conclusion, I'm going to summarize the reasons that the proposed 50% increase in Olympia Airport operations will cause, the problems that will cause for our community. Increases in noise and air pollution will have negative health impacts. That pollution will also cause a decrease in property values. We may have little control over future increases in air traffic or the time of airport operations. The increase in greenhouse gas emissions will also contribute to climate change. We'll see a domino effect of more cargo, which will mean more warehouses and less open space and trees. There's no environmental impact statement planned for the MPU. The environmental impact statement would reveal the effects of expanded airport operations on vehicle traffic, air and noise pollution, and impacts on the health of both humans and wildlife, but that is not planned. There would, as we already said, there'd be negative wildlife impacts, some for endangered species, and certainly in our large number of wildlife protection areas. The MPU, as we said before, it describes unproven technologies for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and will have no chance to say later when the air transportation continues to emit high levels of greenhouse gases. Once the MPU is approved, the changes to the airport will be done. We will not be able to say no then to the already permitted growth in local air flights. The growth in cargo and passenger operations will benefit multinationals and not us, the local community. During MPU planning meetings, a phrase often heard from advocates of airport growth was, "Build it, they will come." We believe that the opposite is also true. To prevent a flood of aircraft operations directly over our community and the adverse impacts that this would bring, capacity-enhancing project at the Olympia Airport must cease. Not only is the Olympia Airport in a terrible location to accommodate growth in operations, but for the sake of our community and our planet, planning for more sustainable alternatives must be promoted instead.
Thank you, Charlotte. So, okay, what are our next steps? What we can do? Okay, to get the attention of our port commissioners and the general public collectively, we need to take action right away, and so that we can make a really big impact. In fact, we need to make a really big stink. I'm going to say that again, okay, because I think it's really important. To get the attention of our port commissioners and the general public, collectively, we need to take action right away so that we can make a really big impact. Let's just call it a really big stink. Sometime in the near future, port commissioners will vote on the airport master plan update, which will likely include increased air traffic, resulting in the consequences you've been hearing about. They've stated they'll vote by February 2023, but the port has been known to suddenly change its voting schedule. So regardless, we don't have much time to make our voices heard. So to reach more people, this group, us and you, and volunteers that we don't yet know about, we need you all to join in this effort. We don't have all the necessary skills to get the word out to the general public. We need help with people with skills in website and social media. There are 3 teams that we've identified, each with a specific focus that needs you as members. And each of these teams will benefit from your creativity and your input and your insights. And the teams need to get started as soon as possible. So, teamwork. The 3 teams are web-based communications team. Now, this team will create a website, a Facebook page, develop Instagram, Twitter accounts, and all social media will have a minimum of a couple of owners and passwords that are shared by the whole team. And content will come from this web-based communications team, with the exception of reposts of related news items. Another team will be the public relations team. Now, this team communicates with the media through interviews, press releases, editorials, and official position posts. And team members work closely with the web-based communications team. The third team is the outreach team, and this team plans rallies, creates and distributes flyers, posters, and determines other creative ways of engaging the general public. And all the teams are going to work in conjunction with a steering committee for their major actions. So there are 3 clipboards on the table back there. They're each color-coded. And we'd appreciate it before you leave tonight that you sign up for a team. You'll be contacted within a week, almost a few days maybe, and likely you'll be hearing about a team meeting on Zoom, which is probably the best way to protect all of you and create a convenient meeting space as well. So after this meeting, please go to the table, check out the green, blue, or pink team, and Lynn Fitzhugh will be back there to answer your questions and meet with you, and maybe some of us will do the same. Okay, so the next steps. What you can do individually, if you can't join a team, okay, you can take action just by yourself. And here's how. First, have you signed our petition? Do you know we've got a petition? It's available on that laptop right back there. You can take action tonight. There are some Q codes on our flyers. You can just scan those if you like. So please sign our petition before you leave. It has all this important information in it. And we're going to send the petition to our port commissioners, and with the message, stop the growth of the Olympia Airport. So you can also talk to your friends. Tell them what you've heard tonight. Ask them to help, because we all need to take action ourselves. We can't expect someone else is going to do it for us. We have to all do it ourselves. And you can send an email to Port Commissioners. Now, this is really easy because tonight you heard a lot of information, but before you go home tonight, and I'll see if I can find it, there is a flyer that's on the table back there that you can take with you. And this flyer has a lot of good information on it, and it will help you to do any of these actions. So when you send an email to the Port Commissioner, or you could send you could use this flyer to send a letter to the editor of the Olympia and other media sources. You can use this flyer to post information on your organizational newsletters, on your social media. And for those of you who like to be direct and in person, consider attending a Port of Olympia Commission meeting. They happen twice a month on the second and fourth Mondays. You'll have 3 minutes to deliver your in-person message to the commissioners on Zoom, or the commission meets in person at Percival Plaza, the Olympics Room, 626 Columbia Street Northwest, right down by Bud Bay Cafe. It's real easy to access. So if you can't join a team tonight, remember to take home a flyer with you and take some action. And if you need a flyer mailed to you, we have an email address, and that's also on the flyer. And if you need help with any of these actions, we can help you do this. Just email us at stopaolyairportgrowth@yahoo.com. So just contact us. And finally, when you leave, if you could make a little donation to help us out with this meeting tonight, and as we move forward, that would be really great. There's a nice yellow bucket there, back there with wings on it. So thank you for that. And thanks for coming.
I so wish that Charlotte had not started this thing of giving him the mic. I think that did not serve our purposes.